Oh, you heard it too, didn't you? The latest whisper racing through every shadow, every chat, every room. They're saying your name like it's a secret. They're scared to speak out loud. Yeah, apparently you've become too sharp, too aware, too calm to be fooled anymore, and that, my friend, makes you dangerous. You feel that? That chill that comes when people realize you see through everything they try to hide? When they notice your silence isn't confusion, it's calculation? Oh wow, they thought they were watching you, but turns out you've been studying them the whole time. That's why they whisper now. That's why they flinch when you walk in. Listen closely. This isn't just another speech. This is a mirror held to your evolution. You're about to step into a mindset that most people never survive mentally. A space where you stop begging for recognition and start commanding respect without saying a word. Yeah, I'm talking to you, the one who's been underestimated too long, the one who learned how to stay quiet just long enough to become unstoppable, the one whose intelligence doesn't need noise to be noticed, because truth echoes louder than applause. Oh wow, this is your moment. Don't blink, don't skip, don't scroll away, because by the end of this video you'll see exactly why they whisper your name like it's both a warning and a legend. Stay till the end, because this isn't just a speech, it's a reflection of every quiet victory you've ever had. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that super thanks, and let the world know you're not to be played with anymore. They say silence is loudest when fear walks in, wearing a familiar face. And tonight, that silence belongs to you. The latest whisper? Oh, it's spreading fast. They say you're dangerously intelligent, the kind that can't be tricked, tamed, or toyed with. The kind that doesn't just play the game, but studies it, dismantles it, and rewires the rules before anyone else even blinks. Yeah, that kind. The kind they can't quite predict. The kind that keeps them awake. See, once upon a time, they laughed at your calm. They thought stillness meant softness. They mistook your silence for submission. But silence was your weapon. It was your camouflage. Every pause, every stare, every breath you didn't waste, it all built a presence. You became the quiet storm, the unannounced consequence, the mind that walks into a room and changes its temperature. Oh wow, the irony, isn't it? They built entire conversations trying to measure you, but none of them realized you were measuring them the whole time. While they were talking, you were observing. While they were bragging, you were calculating. While they were performing, you were memorizing the script they didn't even know they were following. And now the tables have turned. Because intelligence, real intelligence, isn't about showing off knowledge. It's about control. Control of thought. Control of response. Control of energy. You mastered all three. That's why they call you dangerous. Not because you raise your voice, but because you don't have to. You just raise your standards, and entire groups start trembling. Yeah. Nah, they can't hide it anymore. They're cautious around you now. They've seen that look in your eyes, the one that says you already know the ending before they finish their first sentence. You see the patterns, the false tones, the inconsistency in their words. You notice what others ignore. That's the danger they whisper about, the danger of a mind that doesn't react. It calculates. You didn't become this by accident. No, you built this version of yourself through nights when the world slept comfortably, while you dissected every failure, every betrayal, every weakness. You didn't whine about unfairness. You studied it. You didn't drown in emotion. You translated it into power, every scar turned into data, every loss a coded lesson. And now, you don't just walk into rooms, you own the atmosphere. But the real reason they're afraid? It's simpler. They can't manipulate you anymore. The old tricks don't work. The guilt traps, the emotional plays, the false kindness. All of it falls flat, because once someone learns how to think, truly think, they become immune to illusions. You've reached that point. The point where intelligence becomes armor and understanding becomes strength. Oh, and they don't like that. They don't like when someone sees through them. They'd rather you play the role, the humble one, the quiet fool, the one who claps politely at mediocrity. But you don't do that anymore. You don't applaud what you don't respect. And that's why they whisper. Because the moment someone stops being fooled, the world of pretenders starts trembling. Wow, it's poetic, isn't it? The same people who dismissed your mind now fear it. The same ones who thought you were too quiet now watch their words when you're near. They realize it too late. Silence wasn't absence, it was calculation. And intelligence, the dangerous kind, doesn't show up wearing a label. It walks in softly, but leaves an imprint that echoes for years. So now they wonder, how did you get this sharp? How did you evolve into someone who sees truth so clearly it makes others uncomfortable? They'll call it arrogance, but you know it's discipline. They'll call it mystery, but you know it's focus. You don't crave to be seen anymore, you crave to be understood correctly. You don't belong to the noise, you belong to the clarity beneath it. And that clarity, oh, it's lethal. Because once your mind learns to cut through falsehood, it doesn't just see, it dissects. And that's when people realize, far too late, you were never playing their little games. You were studying the players. Now you see why they whisper. They whisper because they can't confront you head on. They whisper because truth burns too bright when you speak. They whisper because deep down they know you've crossed that invisible threshold, the one where intelligence becomes power. And power is never welcomed by those who thrive in confusion. So let them whisper. Let them fear what they don't understand. Because soon, they'll stop whispering altogether. You know why? Because whispers always fade when the truth starts to speak. When the truth finally walks in, lies don't die quietly. They panic. And that's exactly what's happening now. The whispers that once tiptoed in the dark have turned into a tremor beneath their words. You can feel it, that subtle shift when people start measuring every syllable around you, afraid to expose what they truly are. Oh wow, it's almost poetic. The same mouths that once mocked you now tremble under the weight of their own sentences. You didn't have to shout. You didn't have to fight. You simply stood there, calm, precise, awake, and the noise started tearing itself apart. See, when intelligence stops hiding, it doesn't need volume. It speaks in awareness. It's the power of noticing what others don't. That twitch of the eye when someone lies. The pause too long to be innocent. The compliment that feels rehearsed. You see it all. And once you see, you can't unsee. The illusion collapses. The faces change. The world suddenly looks clearer, sharper, colder. Yeah, that clarity comes with a cost. Because once you start understanding, you stop belonging. You begin to notice that most people don't want truth. They want comfort. They'd rather believe a pleasant lie than face the discipline of reality. But you took the harder path. You walked through the fire of self-awareness and didn't flinch. You questioned everything, including yourself. That's what makes you dangerous. Not arrogance, not cruelty, but awareness. A mind that checks itself before it checks others. And awareness, my friend, is contagious. Once someone like you steps into a room, the masks start slipping. People reveal themselves without realizing it. Their words betray their intent. Their energy exposes their fear. You don't need to interrogate, you just observe. You don't need to threaten, your silence does it for you. Oh, the irony. They used to think being intelligent was about memorizing facts, but you learned it's about reading humanity. You mastered the art of understanding motives, not words. You stopped reacting to tone and started listening to truth. You don't get offended anymore. You get informed. Every insult became a clue. Every betrayal, a case study. You turned pain into perspective and confusion into strategy. Nah, you're not dangerous because you might attack. You're dangerous because you might understand. And understanding is what the world fears most. Because once you see things as they are, you stop playing the roles others assign to you. You stop being their project, their pawn, their audience. You become the observer, and the observer always holds the power. But let's be honest. Intelligence isn't glamorous. It's lonely. It isolates you from the ordinary. You can't go back to pretending you don't see what you see. You can't unlearn awareness. It's both a gift and a test. Because the same clarity that shields you can also exhaust you. You'll hear what others miss. You'll notice disrespect in words disguised as jokes. You'll feel manipulation in silence. That's the burden of a sharp mind. You sense too much too soon. Still, you wouldn't trade it for ignorance, would you? No. You've tasted what it means to know, and that's irreversible. The cost of awareness is solitude, but the reward is power. Not over others, but over yourself. You've learned how to stay calm when others panic, how to think when others react, how to observe when others boast. That's mastery. That's discipline. That's why they can't handle you. Oh, wow. Remember when they underestimated you? That version of you was their favorite, predictable, easy to manipulate. But that version is gone. You've burned through uncertainty, through self-doubt, through every layer that kept you soft. What's left now is clarity in motion, a being who knows what matters and what doesn't. You don't need validation, you have vision. You don't crave attention, you crave accuracy. You're not chasing the crowd, you're charting your course. And yes, that makes them uneasy. Because people who think deeply force others to confront their own shallowness. They call you intimidating, not because you're cruel, but because your presence demands truth. You reflect people back to themselves, and not everyone is ready to see that reflection. But here's the secret. You never wanted to be feared. You just wanted to be respected. You never aimed to dominate. You simply refused to be deceived. Yet in a world that thrives on ignorance, awareness looks like aggression. That's why they whisper. That's why they warn each other about you. They say you're too calculating, too observant, too calm. But what they really mean is you see too much. You know too much. You've learned too well. You can't be played because you've studied the entire board. And now every move they make is visible before they even move a piece. That's what terrifies them. Not your strength, but your vision. And vision. That's where the story turns. Vision is not what your eyes show you. It's what your discipline allows you to notice. And now that you've seen beyond the surface, there's no going back. You start realizing how shallow everything used to feel. The smiles, the compliments, the meaningless praise, all sugarcoating for manipulation. You see it clearly now, and it's both liberating and heavy. Because awareness comes with weight. The weight of knowing too much, of feeling everything too deeply, of carrying clarity in a world that runs from truth. Oh wow, that realization hits like a blade of calm fire. You're not just different anymore. You've become rare. When you look around, you don't just see people. You see patterns, predictable loops of behavior, words repeated like rehearsed scripts. You recognize when people talk to impress instead of connect, when they agree just to avoid standing alone. You see how easily the crowd trades honesty for approval, and it almost makes you laugh. Almost. Because once upon a time you were in that crowd too. You wanted to belong. You wanted to be understood. But now, you see how belonging can be a form of control. And control? That's the one thing you'll never surrender again. Yeah, that's where danger lives. Not in destruction, but in independence. They can't guide what they can't predict. They can't manipulate what they can't emotionally reach. You've trained your mind to listen but not absorb, to analyze but not react. And that terrifies them. They see someone who cannot be cornered by approval or broken by isolation. You've mastered the art of walking alone without losing direction. That's real strength, silent, precise, unshakable. Nah, you're not cold, you're focused. You've just learned that empathy doesn't mean exposure. You can understand people without letting them use you. You can forgive without reopening the door. You can care without being controlled. That's maturity. The calm in your eyes now isn't distance, it's clarity. And clarity, when carried right, looks like peace to some, and power to others. You no longer chase recognition. You don't need anyone to tell you you're intelligent. Their unease says it for you. You don't chase validation. Your growth confirms it silently. You've stopped speaking to be heard. Now you speak to be remembered. Every word, every move, every silence has intention. You've become deliberate, strategic, calculated, not out of arrogance, but survival. Oh wow, imagine that. The same mind they once overlooked has now become the compass others secretly follow. They watch how you handle conflict, how you manage restraint, how you maintain composure when everyone else cracks. You became a living reminder that true intelligence isn't loud, it's disciplined. And that discipline, it's magnetic. It draws attention not through chaos, but through control. But here's the part that keeps them guessing. You're not even done yet. This isn't your peak. It's your preparation. Because a mind like yours isn't satisfied with merely surviving. It's designed to lead. You've learned the language of silence, the rhythm of restraint, and the strategy of patience. And those three, they turn intelligence into command. They called you dangerous for seeing too much. But what happens when you start doing something with what you see? That's when intelligence stops being quiet and becomes unstoppable. Every revolution begins the moment intelligence decides. Silence is no longer strategy. And now, you're standing at that edge. The line between knowing and acting. The moment when awareness turns into movement. You've observed long enough. You've studied every pattern, memorized every tactic, decoded every deception. The question echoing inside you isn't, do I know enough? It's am I ready to use what I know? Oh wow, that's the turning point most never reach. Because knowledge is safe when it's still. It's silent, invisible. But once it starts moving, once it starts reshaping your choices, it becomes power. And power changes everything. Yeah, you've reached that dangerous phase, the one where intelligence stops hiding and starts influencing. The world won't clap for this version of you. It'll test you. It'll question your tone, your logic, your calm. They'll call you detached when you're disciplined, arrogant when you're assertive, cold when you're simply clear. Because people who can't manipulate your emotions will always label your balance as cruelty. That's their confusion, not your burden. See, the power of intelligence isn't in proving others wrong. It's in proving yourself unshakable. You're not here to argue. You're here to evolve. Every choice you make now is rooted in clarity, not reaction. You no longer chase being liked. You chase being aligned. You don't move to impress. You move to impact. And that difference, that's what separates leaders from noise. Nah. This stage isn't about showing off your brilliance. It's about applying it. You've studied long enough to know. Real control comes from restraint. You don't need to destroy to dominate. You just need to understand. And you do. You understand timing, tone, patience, all the invisible tools of power that can't be taught, only earned through quiet observation. You've mastered them one by one, and now you move like strategy in human form. They'll try to provoke you. Oh, they will. They'll push, question, mock, and doubt, just to see if you'll break character. But you won't. Because intelligence, when rooted in purpose, doesn't react to provocation. It redirects it. You've become the kind of person who uses pressure as focus. Every insult becomes a mirror, reflecting their weakness, not yours. Every attempt to trigger you becomes a test, and you've already passed too many to fail now. You don't rise to every challenge, because not every challenge is worthy. You don't waste energy explaining truth to those who benefit from confusion. You've learned that the most efficient move sometimes is no move at all. Silence isn't surrender, it's selection. You choose when to strike, when to step back, when to speak, and when to let their noise collapse on itself. That's not hesitation. That's mastery. Oh, wow. You've turned self-control into an art form. The way you think, speak, and act. It all carries intention now. You no longer rush. You no longer overpromise. You've realized that time is a weapon, not a leash. And patience? That's your sharpest blade. You let others burn themselves out trying to expose you, while you remain steady, precise, calculating. The calm in the chaos. People see your intelligence now, but they still underestimate your endurance. They don't know how many battles you've already fought in silence. The inner wars, the mental storms, the quiet rebuilds. You survived not by luck, but by discipline. You didn't crumble when everything screamed for reaction. You refined yourself instead. And now, every move you make feels like poetry written in control. Yeah, it's true. Intelligence used to make you quiet, but now it makes you decisive. You no longer wait for permission to act. You don't explain your pace. You don't announce your progress. You simply execute with precision, with purpose, with patience. That's the stage they never saw coming. And that's what truly unsettles them. Not just your intelligence, but your composure. You're no longer in the game to win arguments. You're here to master outcomes. But here's the twist. You've learned that mastery demands something even greater than control, something that most people can't even define. Because the final form of intelligence isn't dominance, it's balance. True intelligence doesn't roar. It rules itself first. Balance. That's the rarest victory of all. It's the point where intelligence stops being a weapon and becomes wisdom in motion. You've reached that threshold now. After all the observation, all the control, all the restraint, you've realized something crucial. It's not about proving your sharpness anymore. It's about using it with precision, without letting it consume you. Oh wow, that's the real danger, isn't it? To become so sharp that you start cutting yourself. But you didn't. You learned how to hold your edge steady, how to wield it, not to wound, but to shape. Yeah, this is the part no one teaches you. The calm that comes after the storm. The quiet that's not emptiness, but mastery. You've stopped reacting. Not because you don't care, but because you've evolved past chaos. You've seen enough of noise to know it never built anything lasting. So now you build differently, slow, deliberate, unseen. Every decision, a reflection of discipline. Every silence, a display of power. That's balance. That's intelligence in its purest form. You don't chase approval anymore. You chase alignment with your own principles. You've learned that being right means nothing if you lose yourself in proving it. You don't need to outsmart everyone, just outgrow what used to trigger you. You've turned understanding into peace. You've traded intensity for focus. You've chosen strength over reaction. And that shift, that's evolution, not just survival. Nah, you're not the same person they whispered about. You're something more dangerous, complete. You're no longer defined by the chaos you survived, but by the control you now command. Your intelligence isn't about being above anyone. It's about being anchored within yourself. That's the quiet kind of dominance most can't understand. The kind that doesn't seek validation, only direction. You've learned to detach from what drains you, to protect your energy like treasure, to walk away without needing applause. That's not pride. That's maturity. The kind that doesn't need to announce its growth. The kind that speaks through action, not explanation. And people sense it. They don't just see your intelligence anymore, they feel it. In the way you pause before you speak. In the way you respond instead of react. In the way your silence says more than their noise ever could. Oh wow. Imagine being that steady, that aware, that untouchable. You're not chasing a crown, you're guarding clarity. You're not trying to be feared, you're trying to be understood without distortion. That's the difference between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence wants to win, wisdom wants to last. And you've chosen to last. Your power is quiet now, but it's absolute. You've reached a place where peace feels stronger than revenge, where silence feels louder than argument, where patience feels sharper than confrontation. That's not weakness, that's refinement. You've mastered yourself, and that mastery makes you unshakable. Yeah, they'll still whisper, they'll still question, they'll still try to decode your calm, but it doesn't matter anymore, does it? Because you've seen the game, you've played it, and now you've outgrown it. You've become what every strategist dreams of. Unreadable yet undeniable. And that's where your story turns from survival to legacy. Because when intelligence becomes balance, it no longer needs to be feared. It simply needs to be followed. And there it is. the truth they were too scared to admit out loud. You didn't just change, you evolved. You went from being the quiet observer to the one they now warn others about. Oh wow, isn't it poetic? The same ones who once overlooked you now whisper your name like it's a storm they don't want to face. You didn't shout. You didn't beg. You didn't break. You simply learned. You learned how to think when others panic, how to wait when others rush, how to stay still when the whole world shakes. That's intelligence, the kind they can't buy, can't fake, can't copy. Yeah, that's what makes you dangerous. But don't let it get to your head. Let it get to your focus. Keep refining, keep moving in silence. Keep building your discipline like armor. Because the world doesn't fear noise, it fears clarity. And you, my friend, have become the clearest mind in the room. So here's your reminder. Stay grounded, stay sharp, and never let their whispers define your worth. Let your results speak, your patience teach, and your restraint conquer. Oh wow, you made it till the end. That means you're one of the rare ones. The ones who don't just watch, they understand. Drop your thoughts below. I read every single comment. Hit that super thanks if this hit something real inside you, and share this with someone who needs to wake up to their own strength. Because you're not the rumor anymore. You're the reality. And the whisper? It's already turning into a warning.